So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's live session. Today we'll talk more about the urbanization, how you can use some of the tools in Digital Africa. I'm also thanking you for joining us this time. Some of you are joining us from Dakar. Some of you are joining us from, everywhere. Today's session, we're going to talk about urban change detection, and we'll take you through the platform, the data sets that we have that can help you, as well as give you a chance also for any intervention. So from the Digital Africa side, we have these data sources. Let me now give you the material. So from Digital Africa, we are providing fit for purpose analysis ready data, which is a game changer in your areas. And today we're focusing on urbanization, and soon we'll talk about the water resources in the next few presentations. So for the urban change detection, I think it's a big concern for cities in Africa. Over last 20 decades, there's been a lot of changes. Just as from this animation, you can see some two dates, and you can see how this has been changing so far. One of the challenges we have with urban change detection has been that of cloud cover. And with Digital Africa Sentinel GeoMAD, it's possible to have the cloud-free assessments, and we'll be able to look at the Digital Africa map as well as some examples on the sandbox. So first on the sandbox side, now we have a couple of notebooks which are being prepared. And initially we just used the normal built-up index. Over time, we've been able to use the enhanced normalized difference impervious surface index, which caters for the various changes and the various ecosystems. For example, if you're looking at areas which are semi-arid or arid, this is able to cater for that. The index actually uses the data from the Sentinel-2, looking at the green bands and the shortwave infrared. And you're able to load the data, and this index is able to run in the background. And there's some couple of thresholds that are put in the background just to help you be able to have up the results. So some of the results as we have, for example, looking at some of the interesting ecosystems, we had a city in Gulu, Uganda, where it's a little bit semi-arid, and we were working with a champion, Dr. Jen Begimisha, and Mark Senatamu in Uganda to look at some of these areas, and we were able to run the notebook and see some of the hotspot areas. So some of these areas, you can see areas in red show some growth, and areas in decline, which could be areas which have been maybe no longer urban, and areas which have remained urban over time, especially the center of any city, at the heart of any city. The point of Kumasi, Ghana, where we could see the changes over time. Same scenario, where we look at the center of the city and we're able to look at the areas we've changed over time. Then also an example of Harare, just looking at the changes from the center of the city to growing expanse over time, and just looking at the intervention of the different policies by the different governments. And this is just an example of a small city, Gaborone, Botswana, with at least 600,000 people, looking at the change over time. This is the source of water dam, and you can see as it remains the area, and the areas growing around the city, the CBD, and the areas which have remained the Central Bureau of Statistics, Bureau District CBD. And then we also have some changes, for example, in the city of Nairobi. This is just a notebook called Change Film Strips, which shows you the changes over time, and looking at the areas of change, areas which have declined around the park because of the interventions, and areas which have grown, especially around the bigger roads, and areas which have remained urban. So with these examples, we have the case of Johannesburg, which has grown over time, looking at the areas which have grown around the outskirts, and the areas which have declined because of data. You're able to download this and put it in a particular folder which runs for specific areas. And this is just an example of Dakar. So here we have 3 indices in comparison: normal bit-up area, and the enhanced impervious surface, and the interfacial surface index as comparison for Dakar. In this particular case, we're able to see some of the results. I put in different thresholds, which you can yourself on your end try to change and manipulate, and you'll see you end up with something which is similar to this comparison. Then also just another example for looking at the city of Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, same script and scenario. And now I wish to pause and take you to the map interface on Google Maps. This Teach North Africa map, and here we could add the Sentinel annual mosaics, and here we could just do a comparison of a random city, because we are all voting for which one. Just go to Dakar, for example, and this one we can load the imagery and see, especially where there was a new airport built and how the developments occurred over time. And the good thing with the Sentinel-2 GeoMAD is that you can do a comparison. We can also go to 2017 and see how the changes have been over time, just bringing you that comparison. So in that particular context for Dakar, we had the new airport somewhere here, and you can see the developments. The one on the left is 2017, and the one on the right is 2022, for example. Just looking at changes in some of the cities over time. We could also just zoom into an area. Also, you can create a story map. We could just also disable in case you need to go to another city. You can move very fast, for example, to another town or in another country, for example. We could even move to Abuja. Just examples. We could have multiple examples, just seeing how things have changed over time. Then also now we'll be able to go to the sandbox to give you just an example. So this, you can see at least what is happening on the left and the other side. You can see quite some growth. Most of the cities grow towards the outskirts over time. Also, the other thing, you can also do a difference for your in your Digital Africa map. You can come up with different indices. For now, we allow the output, these 3, these 4, and soon we'll be able to add the built-up index as well, just for comparison purposes. Then also, whenever you do your visualization, you can choose to use a false color composite, just to give you that feel of how things change from space. Just as an example. Then, of course, there's a rolling GeoMAD, which is an experimental purpose. So in the real world folder, we have the urban change detection example I was showing you, and the default one we have for Ghana if you do say municipality, and this one more just loading the Sentinel-2 data. And in case you have a large area, this is where you can extend the chunks to be bigger than 500 or 5,000 for it to run a little bit faster, just looking at optimization of the notebooks. And here the index is implemented. And also we give more information about you can see the changes, different years, the histogram, and then you can calculate the change in urban extent. Then also moving forward, you can also look at the urban spot areas, which is very key for your work as you do more analysis. Then the urban index comparison similarly loads data from the global human settlements area that I mentioned about. The default area we had for this one was showing you Dakar. So what if you wanted to add a different area? You would have the same notebook, urban index, for example, this one. And in this one, I run it for a city called Nakuru in Kenya. And here, the good thing, you can also add a JSON file, coordinates, and it was able to give me some of the data that I required. And one of the areas that you'll see request for data to be added certain folder, which is this one, which you can download and add those built up area data sets. Then also on the same, we have red urban change mapping, which is we were using a different example. This one, similarly, notebooks, you load them. And this one for the area of interest, we are showing the case of Nairobi using different bands, 3 bands, and coming up with a cluster, and just giving you an idea of masking out the urban and comparison with the European Space Agency world cover data. Then you're able to see the built up areas from the two and make some assessments just in experimental purpose. Then in your data sets, there was the last time we talked about the word settlement footprint, just showing you the evolution of changes in some of the cities. It's just an example of Nairobi, where you can use a file or a coordinates, and it's able to mask the settlement data for that particular area. Then I think they're in the works to add more datasets for 2023. This is the first one with the 2 dates of the German Aerospace Agency, and they are working with the European Space Agency to have the same for 2023. And also on the dashboard, we have the courses on urbanization in French and English, and all these self-paced at your own time. Just as an example of any of these courses, there has been some questions on how you can check the progress of your work. You can, as a learner, you can look at your own progress. You can even look at where your certificate is. And step by step, you can see once you're achieved the grade of 90%, you'll be able to get your own data sets. And of course, from the website, you know how to access the platform, to register for your Sandbox account, and also just trying to pause for any question. And also remember the GitHub resource is there, and there's an open collaboration, GitHub accounts. You can view these notebooks that we mentioned, etc., etc. Then the program is listening more to your needs, and very soon we'll be able to add more notebooks that you'll give us more requirements. This is some of the courses that we have, thanks to the collaboration with partners. In the continent, the courses I've showed you in English and French, and also many ways of connecting with us through the live session as well, acknowledging the partners and also the colleagues that I've worked with, Joseph and Edward and myself, to make sure that we give you the right information. Just pausing for any intervention, and also thanking you for joining us today. So would there be any question for us? So in case there's no other question, we can always do another demo as you think about the questions. So I mentioned about the change in field tips, which is also in the, we also have the image composites, and they're very good for generating some of the animations that we have. And this is just an example of an animated time series, which you can generate an MP4 file that you can use. And actually you can just right click and download for any area, especially when you want to do the animation of some of your works. And this just was an example of some area that we generated. So we wish for most of you to explore most of these notebooks. Actually, this one was for case of Lake Ngami in Botswana. So all these nice animations you can generate. For example, this one using Sentinel 2 images, just loading the area, specifying the areas of interest, and here you load the Sentinel 2 data for the whole continent, and just here you specify the cloud 95% or 99%. This is also another example for And this is a channel. This is this particular area of an estuary. The default one actually will give the information. And also just when you start, once you copy the coordinates of every area, you can always just go on your Digital Africa map and load them and see where the area takes you. So the good thing with Digital Africa map gives you that flexibility just to go back in time to see where we are. And this estuary is loads for, this was Bui Reserve in Ghana, for example. So imagine this animation for this particular area, and you can generate an animation for certain areas and put them in your report or presentation, like the one for today. And then you can always download some of the images, etc., and also just going back to the viewers in case of any question. Us today, I know we had not so many participants joining us, but hopefully there'll be other opportunities. So these are ways you can connect with us through the social media, and also thanking you for joining us today. And also hopefully we can combine next week. It will be in French, it will be on the water extent, and the other alternative week it will be similar topic in English. So we try to make them in English and French, and also we share them on the YouTube channel so that we leave no one behind. So today is thank you everyone for joining us as we pause for a group photo. Thank you, partners.